Hey there, I want you to think about the last thing you bought online. Maybe it was something cheap like cat food or dog food for your fur baby. Or maybe it was, say, a ticket to our upcoming retreat. What pushed you over the edge to buy that thing? Sure, there were likely some great images that caught your attention. Maybe the copy really emphasized that product's benefits and how it could improve your life, or I guess your pet's life in this example. But would you have bought that product if it had no reviews and if you were the first person ever to buy it? Probably not, right? Now, a study by Podium cited that 93% of consumers said online reviews heavily influence their purchases. I know they do for me. And another study by Bright Local found that 79% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. Yeah, those numbers are crazy, right? Incorporating social proof, what other people think, into your marketing is simply a must-do at this point. And I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you already know how impactful social proof is on your buyers. But even if you know they matter, that doesn't mean that right now you are collecting good testimonials for your business, which makes sense to me because asking for testimonials, asking for reviews of your products and services can feel really awkward. And you can usually end up with a line or two saying, yeah, this was great, it helped me a lot, which isn't exactly the most compelling sales pitch. Those sorts of testimonials won't convince others that they should also be buying your product or service. So how do you get those mouth-watering testimonials that make your future clients go, OMG, that really helped. I have to get it for myself. That's exactly what we're talking about on this episode of the Her Business podcast. So stick around to find out the different types of testimonials you should be collecting depending on your niche and the products or services you're selling, the elements that go into making a testimonial not just good but great, and the 6 questions you should be asking to get those reviews out of your clients. Welcome to this episode of the Her Business podcast. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO at Her Business. We have got a lot to cover in this episode because we're going to be going over everything from what to ask your clients to when you should ask them. But first, I want to let you know that there is a free download that goes along with this episode, and you'll find that over at herbusiness.com/278. Now, it's not the only thing we're covering. We're going to be covering a lot of juicy topics. So that's an extra resource, and I'll give you the details again later. So that resource, though, which again you'll find at herbusiness.com/278, actually features the details of a secret freebie, a workshop that we've got coming up on the 23rd of October. So if you want that bonus gift, you definitely want to download that guide. Now, before we go into this episode, I am going to be giving you a system for getting testimonials that drive sales. And it's a system because it follows a simple 6-part process that we know works. Now, right now, inside the Her Business community, all month, we are focused on business systems and giving our Her Business members training and support to create better systems for marketing and operating their businesses. Now, every month inside of Her Business, we have a different focus, which is part of the foundations of all great successful businesses. And right now, that focus is on creating ways to grow your business through up-leveling your systems. And that systems focus is spilling over today right here into this podcast for your benefit. So let's get into our first topic. And that is, why do testimonials make such a difference? Why is it that we so inherently trust random reviews from people we don't know on the internet? Because the thing is, I know I do. Anytime I go to buy something, I honestly spend time reviewing the reviews of that product or service than I often do reading about the features and benefits of that product. There's something about the social proof, the stories, that makes us trust that product. It's just a human thing. There's a great quote from one of my favorite people, psychologist Robert Cialdini. He's the author of Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And he says, whether the question is, what do I do with an empty popcorn box in a movie theater, or how fast to drive on a certain stretch of highway, or how to eat the chicken at a dinner party, the actions of those around us will be important in defining the answer. Now, how great and true is that quote? There's something inherently human about wanting to be part of a collective, part of a community. So we look to others. It's how we learn social cues. social norms. It's how we learn from the minute we're born through observing others. So when we're talking about the psychology of sales and marketing, we have to think about how our ideal customers are seeking out reviews that relate to what we're offering and what they're going through. So if they have a specific problem, they want to know that your product or service has helped someone else with that problem. We want to see that other people have been down the path before us and have been successful in making a change. So when you're creating your next sales page or putting together an email campaign, promoting your next launch, really try and incorporate that social proof. Because while you can make your features and benefits sound really good, and I'm sure they are really good, the extra push to buy is going to come from people reading testimonials. So what elements does a good testimonial have? Because as reviews go, there's definitely some that are better than others. And I want to give you a few examples here. Now, this is a testimonial we have for the Her Business Network. That's our membership community that helps women business owners learn, network, grow their businesses without working harder and longer hours. And this is one of my favorite testimonials from one of our dear long-term members, Belinda Weaver of Copyright Matters. Now, she says, "I love this group so much. So many other groups say they are supportive, but they're online pits of piranhas. Not her business. I am less susceptible to wobbles when I have the skills I need. So all the training in her business is pivotal. When I'm connected to other business owners, it's by talking, catching up, sharing experiences, and getting advice that I realize that I'm so much further along than I remember." Now, thank you, Belinda. Let's analyze this testimonial. Now, Belinda could have just mentioned that the network is supportive, has lots of training resources, and that she's connected with other business owners. Those are features that she highlights in her testimonial. What makes this testimonial great, however, is that she doesn't just list those features. She talks about how she felt about other groups being like a pit of piranhas. She talks about how much progress she's made since joining her business, and she makes us feel the pain of being vulnerable as a business owner. She positions the network as a go-to choice. She relays the benefits and how those benefits have affected her business, and she shows us the tangible progress that she's made. Let's do another one in a completely different niche. There is a crochet brand called Woobles, Woobles, and they sell these cute all-inclusive kits for beginning crocheters to get into the hobby of crochet. Now, this is a review from one of their products. "My kiddo started learning to crochet a few months back and really loves it. I was fascinated, so for Father's Day, she gifted me my first kit. It was challenging, but oh, so satisfying. I was hooked, crochet pun intended. Just last week, I rolled my ankle badly, but this beginner bundle was the perfect remedy. The night before surgery, I channeled my nervous energy into my second Wooble. These are worth every penny and are something you can do alongside your favorite humans or all by yourself. Thank you for making an amazing product." What a great review. Now, let's take it apart. Now, this random online review doesn't go over all the product features at all. In fact, we don't get a review about the quality of the string or the durability of the crochet hook, because that's not what people really care about when buying this product. Instead, we get brought into this buyer's life. We learn how this product not only gave him the opportunity to bond with his child, but also reduced anxiety the night before surgery, giving him a simple and fun hobby to do. That is a great testimonial. So, what do you want to get out of your testimonials? I believe there are three major elements that make a good testimonial great. The best ones are those that are specific, emotional, and tell a story. So it's not enough to just say, "She was wonderful." We need the details. What was going on before? What wasn't working? How did you make it better for that client? What's different now? So let's talk about specificity. Instead of the vague, "She helped me, she was great," we instead want, "She helped me increase my revenue by 30% in 6 months by focusing on my email marketing strategy." You see, it's all about the details, the statistics, and specificity, if I could just say it, should be used the most in certain industries or niches. So if you're running a bookkeeping service, or if you're in marketing, you're a personal trainer, you run a membership that helps someone increase their online presence, the numbers will speak for themselves. People want to hear about tangible results. But if you're in the crochet business, the numbers may not be as impactful. But what is impactful in all niches is the next element to a great testimonial, and that is emotional impact. This is where you want to hear about the before and after. How are they feeling before they worked with you versus how they feel now? That's when you get the relatable feelings. Before crocheting his Woobles project, that customer was anxious about his surgery. After, he was able to take his mind off the stressful thing happening and connect with his child. Or in the example we gave earlier with her business, Belinda felt like online membership communities were quite literally predatory. She called them a pit of piranhas. But after, she found community, connection. She realized how much progress she was able to make inside of her business. The emotional shift from before to after is the key to a great testimonial. This is going to make your product or service seem like the answer to a certain problem. Okay, so we've done 1 and 2. Let's now talk about the third major element to a great testimonial, and this one is my favorite. Storytelling. The best reviews are the ones in which the reader really connects with you, the writer. They feel seen in what they have experienced. They relate to the pain points that person went through, and they desperately are seeing the relief that person was able to find. So a great testimonial is going to take your reader on this journey from where they started, the turning point they experienced with your help, and what life looks like now. So let's do another example. You tell me, which is better. I know this is a podcast, I'm not going to hear you, but I'm going to sense your response. Which is better? I learned a lot from Susie and she provided great services. Her products gave me what I needed and I was able to grow my business. That's option 1. Versus option 2. I didn't know how to keep my business growing. I just kept hitting plateaus and was so overwhelmed. But after working with Susie, I realized that I had the ability to expand by adding a high-ticket product and hire my first team member. Now I'm not only making more money, but I'm able to turn off my computer at 5 p.m. and have the rest of the day to myself. Now, obviously the second one, right? Yes, I see you. You're nodding where you are. Where the first option is still a positive review, the second example brings in specificity with the new achievements, emotional impact with the pain points this person was experiencing, and the storytelling. Going from being stuck at a profit plateau to no longer worrying about money and having more free time. Those are the types of reviews and testimonials that you'll be getting when you incorporate the 6 questions. Before we jump into those questions, I want to talk about how to actually ask for these testimonials, because for a lot of us, asking for testimonials is a bit of an uncomfortable thing. Maybe you're worried about coming off as too salesy or needy, or maybe you just don't want to bother your clients. Trust me, I totally get it. But here's the thing. Most people actually love to share about their successes, and they're getting a little bit of exposure and fame in the process, so it's a win-win. And I found that timing is really key here, and there's actually research about what I'm about to tell you. The best time to ask is right after a successful project wraps up or when you receive some positive feedback. So if someone says to you, "That's been amazing, thank you so much," that is your cue. Or if you have an ongoing relationship with that client, still try to time the request when makes the most sense. If you help them with a recent ad campaign, for example, if that's your business, once it's wrapped up, ask for that testimonial. Or if you're providing ongoing bookkeeping services, you can ask for the testimonial once the next fiscal quarter has wrapped up and you've presented them with some reports. One of the best ways to make it easy for your clients is to simplify the process. Now, you can use a short email template or even make a Google form survey. You could get on a quick Zoom with them, a little more confronting for some people, but you want to kind of systemize this and make it easy. And that's where knowing what you're going to ask in the first place really comes in, and that's where these 6 testimonial questions come in. And as I mentioned, there is a guide over at herbusiness.com/278 that will give you those questions that I'm about to give you too. But I'm going to walk you through them. So these questions are going to help you guide your client to share the transformation, the before and after, big or small, that they experienced. And And if you're still not keen on the idea of asking, here's a secret. When you frame it as something that really helps others, people are more likely to help. They want to see others succeed too. So let's jump into the questions. Now, these questions were part of a podcast episode that I did with my co-host on the Content Sell Show, our other podcast, with my friend and co-presenter Michelle Falzon. And now, if you don't listen to Content Sales, you definitely want to check it out because it's a treasure trove of marketing training. And I'll put a link in our show notes so that you can find the show, or you can just search for it at Content Sales. So the first question is an easy one. Who are you? Here you want to get the specifics and be as tangible as possible. Ideally, if you can snag a photo or video of the person, even better. Always, of course, get their permission to use a video or a photo, and a visual of some sort will make them seem more real to those reading the testimonial than, say, an anonymous testimonial or a logo. You also want to include, where possible, their full name, the name of their company, and their suburb or state or country. Now, as a side note, if you're in an industry where you're restricted by either regulations or confidentiality, I suggest using a real person's information, but maybe use a different name or a stock photo representing their age and demographics. You never want to mislead the reader, and so you may have a disclaimer, but you just want to make it as human as possible. You want to state that the information is based on a real person, but you've changed their details for confidentiality reasons. Now we get into the good stuff. So we've asked, who are you? The second question is, what was life like before you purchased our product or service? Now, this works best if you can expose a specific example like, well, I'd never run a business before, or I'd wasted more than $50,000 on advertising that didn't work, or I'd tried every weight loss diet ever, or I'm always buying clothes that don't suit me that I never wear, right? Depending on your business. Here you can ask them about the reservations that they had in making a decision to invest in your service or product. And it's a great way to have people see that they're not alone with their objections, but that others were able to move past them. Okay, so that's the second question. What was life before your product or service? The third question you should be asking is, what was the turning point moment? This is usually preceded by some kind of low point. So, for example, if you help people get out of debt, maybe your client was struggling to even pay for their groceries that week and they had racked up a credit card bill of $64,320, which is more than they earned that year. Then their turning point moment might be that they remembered one day when they had to unpack half their basket of groceries because their card declined and they were stuck there unpacking items while the line kept growing behind them. That's when they decided never again and they found your service, right? I can feel the emotion in that. And there's people who are going to relate to that turning point moment where that person said never again. The fourth question to ask is, what is life like now after your product or service? Now here you want to cover those specifics we mentioned earlier and explore the ripple effects those changes caused. Did it help them get more time with family? Did their confidence rise? Were they able to make that dream holiday happen? What did it mean for their team, for their customers, for their business, for their bottom line? Now, it's important to get specific about the benefits. And some examples could look like the number of sales they have made as a result of learning your XYZ sales process. It could be the amount of money they've been able to save or raise or invest since working with you. It could be the amount of time they saved after implementing your system, or anything like that is specific about the benefits. The more emotion and the more specific examples you can include in your testimonials or case studies, the better. And this brings us to our fifth question. What would life have been like if they didn't have your product or service? And this is a really important one because it propels people into a future where if they don't make a change, things are likely to not change or get worse. Now, this one is going to paint a really compelling picture for new prospects by creating a stark contrast between where they are now and where they might be if they hadn't made the change. So it's important because your prospect is right in the same position when they're reading the testimonial. They're thinking about making that change. Make sense? And the final question to ask is, who would you recommend this product or service to and why? So always ask your client directly who they think would benefit, because they will most likely mention people that fall into your target audience. Now, this provides a strong endorsement or recommendation for the potential clients reading the testimonial, and it talks directly to them and their situation. So, if they're a mum of small children, or if they're over a particular age, or if they hold a particular position in a company or have certain responsibilities. So that question again was question number 6, and that was, who would you recommend X product or service to and why? Now, there are some common roadblocks when it comes to asking clients for testimonials. What do you do if you ask and then it's crickets? Now, non-responsive clients are a reality. People are busy, but don't let it discourage you. Sometimes people are simply just that. They're busy. It doesn't mean they don't want to help. And I highly recommend following up once you've made the request. Follow up a week or 2 with a gentle reminder. And asking for feedback and testimonials isn't you being pushy. It's about giving clients the chance to share and celebrate their success and help others to do the same. So I want to talk quickly about formats before we wrap up this episode. And testimonials can come in all different formats, written, video, and sometimes even audio. And I found that written testimonials are the easiest to collect and to share. But if a client is willing to record a quick video, do not turn that offer down. A video testimonial can be absolute gold because they're more real, they're more authentic, and it's a different way to connect with that client than a written, a photo with some text. And that can be what pushes that customer or client to buy. They can see that person is a similar age or gender, or they're a real person, they live in a home that's like theirs, etc. It creates more relatability. But go, that's gold, but go for what you can get. And written testimonials, as I said, are the easiest ones. And remember, the testimonials you collect shouldn't just be sitting in one place on your website. You want to use them everywhere. Social media, proposals, email marketing, on your webinars, at presentations, in your retail space, if you have a space, in your clinic, if you have a clinic, on your sales pages, right? Everywhere. You've gone to all this work to collect these testimonials. Now it's time to use them. So now as we wrap up, I have a challenge for you. I want you to think about one client you've worked with recently who had a fantastic experience, who really got a result. Reach out to them today. Use the 6 questions I shared and get that testimonial. And don't overthink it. Just give it a try. So what I would probably do is a 1-2 process. I would probably reach out, give them a call and say, hey, I was wondering, would you be willing to answer 6 quick questions about your experience with working for me? And once you get the yes, then you can follow up and send them the 6 questions, or send them, you could just do it in an email, make it easy. You can arrange a time to get them online. You can send them to a form, whatever it is. And then you want to follow up, as I said, if you haven't heard. And if you like the sound of these questions and you want to refer to them later, because maybe right now you are walking the dog or you are doing something where you can't actually write things down, then head over to herbusiness.com/278 if you haven't already, and grab your download. And as I said, that download was created by us when we were doing the Content Sells podcast, a podcast I highly recommend you listen to. Now, I would love for you to join me on the next episode of the podcast. We're going to be interviewing a very special guest, and I have a feeling you'll want to hear her story. I love doing the show for you. I appreciate you listening and sharing the show with your friends, and I love it whenever I get a comment from you. So if you enjoyed this episode, let me know. You can email me at podcast@herbusiness.com. You can direct message me over on Instagram. You'll find our account over at herbusiness. And you definitely want to follow that account because we are always including little quips and tips for business owners. And if you're new to the show, be sure to subscribe. Just hit follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. Now, if you want to be my bestie and you enjoyed this episode, please head to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating or review. It really matters to podcast hosts to get those reviews, because it means that when someone is looking for a business podcast, they're going to see all this social proof, all these testimonials, right? And you can use some of the tips that I mentioned here today. Join me next time right here on the Her Business podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.